Best Practices for Designing Surveys by Rolando Merchan. A survey is a non-experimental research method based on questionnaires or interviews. The focus for this presentation is on questionnaires, which are self-reporting data collection instruments completed by the assessment or research participant, according to Johnson and Christensen. Depending on the type of questions, questionnaire serves to collect qualitative, quantitative, or mixed data. Fowler, in 2014, explained the way survey data works as illustrated in the figure. The goal is to learn the characteristics of the target population. We assume that the answers the respondents give to the instrument are accurate measures of the characteristics we are trying to describe. By describing the respondents, we would like to be able to say we are describing the entire target population. Some of the advantages. Questionnaires are useful in collecting information about behaviors and attitudes in a large group of respondents. It is a very efficient way to receive feedback from many people in the population of interest. Henning and Roberts highlighted the benefits of using questionnaires with college students thanks to their connectedness, which makes them a captive audience. Additionally, this data collection system lends itself to a straightforward data analysis. However, there are some things that need to be considered. The data collected cannot be followed up most of the time. Once it's collected, that is all the information available for analysis. For analysis process, some statistical knowledge is required. The most salient issue is the small response rates due to survey fatigue caused by the abundance of programs that allow companies to survey customers, students, etc. Survey error is the difference between an estimate that is produced using survey data and the true value of the variables in the population that one hopes to assess or describe. To improve quality of the survey, 4 errors need to be minimized according to Dillman, Smith, and Christie. Those are: coverage error. This error happens when sample members do not represent the population in the characteristics. Sampling error occurs when we only survey some rather than all members of the sample. Non-response error. This error exists when those who do not respond are different from those who do respond in a way that influences the estimate. Measurement error. This is the difference between the estimate produced and true value. It occurs when respondents are unable or unwilling to provide accurate answers. To minimize total survey error, assessors need to customize or tailor the questionnaire design to the particular situation. Johnson and Christensen included 15 principles for survey design. Number 1. Make sure questionnaire items match your assessment objectives. You must always determine why you intend to conduct your assessment. You should carefully review the existing research literature in the topic to avoid omitting an item covering a variable that should be included. Number 2. Understand your participants. Keep in mind that it's them who are going to respond to the items. An important strategy when writing a questionnaire is to develop an empathetic understanding or a think like your potential participant so the questionnaire makes sense to them. Number 3. Use natural and familiar language. Based on principle number 2, we need to try to avoid jargon or technical terms. Consider participants' age and educational level, as well as any relevant cultural characteristics. A key issue for principles 2 and 3 is determining the appropriate reading level of the questionnaire. Number 4. Write items that are clear, precise, and relatively short. Each item should be understandable to you and to the participants. Your goal is that each participant interprets each item exactly the same way, so the resulting data is valuable. Number 5. Do not use leading or loaded questions. These are questions that bias the response. A loaded question contains emotionally charged words that create a positive or a negative reaction. A leading question is worded in such a way it suggests certain answer. Number 6. Avoid double-barrel questions. These type of questions combine 2 or more issues or attitude objects in a single item. For example, do you think that students should have more contact with the professors and school administrators? Each of these 2 elements deserve its own question. Number 7. Avoid double negatives. Questions like, do you agree or disagree that teachers should not be required to supervise their students during library time, are confusing, because if the respondent disagrees, he or she is expressing they do not think teachers should not supervise a student in the library, which probably means the respondent agrees teachers should supervise students during library time. Number 8. Determine whether an open-ended or a closed-ended question is needed. Open-ended questions allow for qualitative data. However, when constructed in such a way that they provide minimal responses, the data is quantitative. For example, what is your marital status? An open-ended question is intended to elicit people's thoughts and used when the dimensions of variables are not well defined. Closed-ended questions expose all participants to the same response categories and allow standardized statistical analysis. Number 9. Use mutually exclusive and exhaustive response categories for closed-ended questions. Categories are mutually exclusive when they do not overlap, and they are exhaustive when there is a category available for all legitimate responses. Number 10. Consider the different types of response categories available for closed-ended questionnaire items. We need to remember that there are several types of responses. Rating scales, like Likert scales. Ranking scales, indicating priorities. Semantic differentials. These are bipolar scales for a participant to rate objects or concepts. These scales contain contrasting adjectives to anchor the rating scales. And finally, checklists. Number 11. Use multiple items to measure abstract construct. Multiple items increase the reliability and validity of the measure. Number 12. Consider using multiple methods when measuring abstract concepts. That way you will have more confidence in tapping into the characteristics of the concept rather than the method. Number 13. Use caution if you reverse order wording in some of the items to prevent response sets in multi-item scales. A response set is a tendency for a participant to respond to a series of items in a specific direction, regardless of the differences in item content. One way to prevent response sets is to reverse the wording and scoring in some of the items. However, this is only advisable when response sets are a concern, and reverse word order should not be used if it results in double negatives. Number 14. Develop a questionnaire that is properly organized and easy for participants to use. Johnson and Christensen advise to start the questionnaire with positive or non-threatening items. Experts recommend leaving the demographic questions as the last part of the questionnaire. Questionnaires should include clear instructions, thank the participants, and maximize the amount of space in the page. Number 15. Always pilot test your questionnaire. You should pilot your instrument with a minimum of 5 to 10 people. When piloting, check how long it takes for participants to complete the form. Listen to what respondents think of the questions to try to determine any items that appear to be confusing or threatening. After piloting, ask for feedback to see if anything important was left out and whether any items stood out for any reason. Floyd asserts that there is no agreed-on standard for a minimum response rate. However, several researchers have studied response rates for web-based surveys and determined they vary at around 40%. The lowest average response rate reported was 33% in a college setting. In general, it has been determined that response rates for web-based surveys are about 11% lower than those for paper or phone. Web-based questionnaires are very popular in education institutions. To increase the respondent participation, Dillman et al. Suggests several action steps. Informing participants of the benefits of the assessment. Asking for advice by using the qualitative portion of the instrument. Designing clear items. Offering incentives, and having multiple communications via email through sponsors. In conclusion, as Henning and Roberts affirm, the student affairs professional benefit of the use of questionnaires for data collection. However, to completely take advantage of the tool, we need to be organized and understand the process of creation and design of questionnaires, as well as the data analysis stage for a successful implementation. Thank you.